Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
I told you I was going to get more excited. Oh, it's setting up your meeting for Facebook Live. So it's not live yet.
That's funny. Mine says it's streaming.
All right, then we are live.
All right, perfect. Hey, everybody.
So we talked about before we got on that we were going to show more excitement and, right before we made everything happen. So thank you, everybody, for being on the show, being a part of the show today. So this is Real Raw Health with Nikki Burnett, my esteemed co-host, and myself, Matt Rowe. So Nikki, is there anything you want to say before we start?
Anything I want to say? Well, I'll just do another, I guess, a quickie introduction since this is still, new, but we'll continue every week. So Nikki Burnett, I'm a functional nutritionist. My practice is Taste Life Nutrition. My focus is human health. I work a lot with autoimmune issues, GI issues, fertility, the list goes on. But what I love, and it's a little bit of a passion for me as well as for Matt, which is how we connected, is dog nutrition and helping pet parents learn how to feed real raw food and getting away from kibble, because it is absolutely deadly. I don't care if you're paying $1,000 a pound for it. It is deadly stuff. And so that's why and how we connected. And we're so excited to just try to get some information, some education out there, have a little bit of fun with it, talk about human health. We both have experience there, talk about dog health, maybe some cat health, maybe anything else that may come up. And if you have anything that you want to ask, then I think, can you see it, Matt, if people ask questions below?
I don't think that I can see it on mine.
Okay, that's okay. We can see it after, right? We can see it after. And so if there are questions, we can always answer the questions after we're finished. So, but
absolutely.
That's me. That's where we are.
Wonderful. And as you guys know, I'm Matt Rowe and I own Parsley Pet. And what we do is we conduct HTMA diagnostic testing on dogs, testing 48 different nutrients and 7 heavy metals inside the body, because this is where the root of health starts, is the actual nutrients that we have inside. And the only way I can get nutrients inside my body, and I can get nutrients inside of Mr. Chacha's body and Leo's body, is food. So that's why I got connected with Nikki, because she is looking at stuff at such a holistic, deep level in regards to what we eat. So we're going to touch on a bunch of that. We're going to talk about human health. We're going to talk about dog health. But today we want to talk about, how do I get my dog off of kibble and how do I transition them? And Nikki, you had a really good story about your dog and how you brought them home.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I hear there are a lot of reasons why people are afraid of feeding raw food. I'm going to miss something. My dog's not going to get everything he or she needs. And what I hear a lot is, my dog doesn't like it. My dog only likes kibble and will only eat kibble. And so I thought I think it's interesting. It's an interesting thought process, and I really want to help people move through that. And I really wanted Matt and I to talk about helping people move through that and give you some of the reasons why it's okay to help them to move through that process. But my own experience is, I brought in, all of mine are rescues. All of them directly from high kill shelters. And well, I say high kill shelters, and then a couple of them moving into an organization that I'm major fan of called Saving Carolina Dogs. Awesome. Anyway, so we got my oldest, or my biggest, and she wouldn't, I put food down for her and I mixed the kibble because I knew what she had. I mixed the kibble with the meat, and she literally picked out the meat and ate the kibble. And I was like, what dog does this? But it's what she knew, right? It's what she knew for however long she's been around. I don't really know how old she is. And I just thought it was really funny, but I didn't care, because I knew that it wouldn't take very long for her to adjust and go, oh, well, for one, I'm hungry and this is what I have to eat. And honestly too, I didn't do a whole lot of transitioning. I did that one night. I think the next day it was all raw, and that's what she ate, and she was great. So, I tell people to transition typically and slowly, depending on your dog. My dogs just are, they've got stomachs of steel, and they just doesn't bother them to transition. I've never had an issue transitioning a dog, and I've done several.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my point, was, she transitioned and it was easy, and it when they're hungry, they're gonna eat.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
if you look at a dog's stomach, the pH balance inside the dog's stomach, and that's what really breaks down the food and cuts down all the pathogens that are in there, is a pH level less than 2.
Yeah.
When we are maintaining 7 to 9 as humans, and we should be up around the 9 level for humans, your dog is a scavenger. I mean, it's a carnivorous scavenger, and it will eat anything to keep it alive. And so when you look at that, if your dog was wild, it would be hunting rabbits in the field. It would get a rabbit. It would kill the rabbit. And so, and they've done a bunch of studies now that they've reintroduced wolves back into Yellowstone, they've actually done some studies and watched their feeding patterns, because a dog is less than 0.5% away from the genetic makeup of wolves. When we look at ourselves, we're 10% away from chimpanzees, and we still relate to them. But now your dog is very, very close to the wolf. And what they study with wolves is they will bring down an elk, they will gorge on that elk. I mean, pick it clean. They found that there's nothing left of that elk. And as they clean it off, they may go then another day or 2 days or 3 days without eating again. Now, and this steps into the fasting spectrum of it.
Yeah.
I just did a podcast with Kristen at Wag Out Loud, and she's a big fasting advocate.
Yeah.
She knows, she's been studying it for years. And so when she looked at fasting, fasting is not bad for your dog, and it's not bad for our health either.
Right. Yeah. No, I will have people fast, and typically when I do it, it's the intermittent fasting, but some people want to go more extreme. But I have fasted my dogs for a period of 24 hours, and I think it's totally fine. You can take some of the burden off of the gut and off of the liver. And if you're dealing with a dog who has a history of pancreatitis, it can be acute or chronic, fasting is really one of the best things that you can do to take the burden off the dog. Fasting, digestive enzymes, another thing, and we're getting a little off topic, but I can't help because I think it's so important, is we're told when a dog has pancreatitis, either it's a prescription dog food or feed them cooked chicken and rice or something like that. Cooked fat is what increases the chances of, as well as potentially vaccines and that kind of thing, of pancreatitis. So cooking the fat makes it, they don't utilize it well. So that fat, when it's been cooked, it just is not good for them at all. So fat is not bad for dogs, but it must be raw, especially if you're doing a higher fat diet. It has to be raw fat, or they don't do well with it at all.
Right. And really, when you balance that diet the right way, and I know balance is this, I'm going to put it under quotes, balanced.
Yeah.
It all depends on your specific dog. So you're looking at the health of your animal. Should I fast? Go see your holistic veterinarian, or a veterinarian that understands what you're trying to do and what you're trying to solve with fasting or transitioning, and get their advice as well. Because if your dog is sick, fasting may not be the best. And in some cases, if your dog is sick, fasting could be the best thing that you do for them. So really study that and get to know that. But in transitioning your dog over to it, if they go a breakfast without eating because they don't want to eat, the raw food that you're putting down in front of them, take a deep breath. They will survive.
It's okay.
They will be super excited when you get home, and when you put raw in front of them, they're more likely to eat that. So Nikki and I were talking before we started, and eating kibble is equivalent of you eating McDonald's every day. And if I came to you and said, you know what, I have this great plate of lettuce and carrots for you to eat, forget about the McDonald's, and I just want to give you this. And if you've only eaten McDonald's your entire life, are you going to be excited about eating carrots and lettuce? Hell no. Like, at some point, like, if I had only eaten McDonald's, they make it for a reason to taste good. Just like kibble, they make it to taste good. And even to some degree, you see lots of toppers out there that are like barbecue toppers and mustard toppers and things that get your dog to eat more kibble, which essentially kibble, I don't think we ever have to talk anybody into eating more McDonald's. And at some point, where I've seen where dogs reject kibble is those that start to identify your dog is very, very smart. And that smell of 10,000 times greater than ours, they can actually smell toxins before we know that they're even in the food. And because they're scavengers, they need to run around, they need to go find food, but they are very good at identifying what's good to eat and what's bad to eat. And
it's interesting. Yeah. Sorry. Were you going to say something?
No, you go right ahead.
So in my own experience, and so, you know, I did in the past, I'll never do it again, but I fed my dogs kibble. And so mine was, you know, we talked about this last time with the transition from kibble to raw. And then I did a mixture. And then of course, you know, at the end, it was all raw. And of course, now it's all raw. Long point to that is that I left the kibble down just because I thought, well, if I'm lazy or if they just get hungry and they want to eat, because they weren't, they're not like my girls now who they just, you know, have to eat everything in sight. They were very self-selective. So if there was raw food down, they would eat all of the raw. But if there's kibble and I hadn't fed them, they're like, okay, well, I'll nibble on it a little bit. But I truly believe, and I know this, that they knew that it wasn't food. And when people will tell me, yeah, okay, so I'm putting down this food and now my dog is picking around and spitting out the kibble, because they start to learn, they start to figure out, oh, this is not what I need. But if it's all they have, they're going to eat it because they're hungry. But
right.
Yeah.
I mean, their goal is to stay alive. And if that's that's the only food you're providing them, yeah, they're eventually going to eat it. And they're going to take it. And just same with that transition over to raw, they will eat raw.
Yeah.
And so for some people that, you know, I've helped through in that transition is it's really start that 80% kibble, 10% raw, and then over a 4-day period, get it to where it's 80% raw, 20% kibble. And then that next day, no kibble.
Yeah.
And then really make that leap over, and they won't even realize it or have to adjust it. You may feel the need to, I have to cook it. And as Nikki put out, when you cook fat, it actually changes its molecular profile. And then it actually is harder to digest under that for a dog in that case. But also when you cook food, it actually loses up to 50% of its nutrient profile. To the actual food itself. That's why raw is, you know, feeding really raw. I mean, this is where wrapping your mind around it. When I go to get my raw, it's a tube of meat, 2-pound tube of meat. And I know I need to feed Leo 1.5 pounds of that meat a day. And if I feed him 2 meals, so I just divide that number in half, 0.75, and I put it on my scale and I put 0.75 in, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. I had a point and now I can't remember what it was.
I'm good like that, Nikki. I can get you so distracted. Like something's wrong with my memory.
That's my focus on myself this year, is working on my memory.
Yeah, baby steps, small steps.
Exactly.
Let me know if it works out. I want to practice.
Yeah, I'll do that. I think, I know one of the things that I wanted to talk about that it kind of goes back to something that we talked about last week. And you know, I was talking about my friend who is having issues. And again, it's the word that I can't remember, lymphangiectasia. I wish I had it up again because I cannot say the word. Okay. But it's an inflammation. It's an entire systemic inflammatory situation where then the lymph system is squished, and so nothing can move through it, and that creates lots of fluid and lots of junk. Well, interestingly, she tried to switch the dog's diet. He's a boy, tried to switch his diet and was having problems. And I asked her, I said, did you go get the digestive enzymes? And she said, no. Okay, go get the digestive enzymes. Talked to her or texted her yesterday, day before, whenever it was. And she said, I got the enzymes and it's working. Like, yeah. Awesome. So this is a key when we have an animal who is not responding well, when it comes to some kind of inflammatory issue or they're not digesting their foods. Oh, now I remember what I was going to say. back to cooking protein is what I was going to say, but
Mhm.
is a lot of times they don't have the enzymes necessary. Their body's not producing them. They don't have the enzymes for breaking down fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
They get those enzymes if they were to kill, right? They would go for the gut, and they get their enzymes and probiotics from the gut, from the intestines of the
Mhm.
animals that they take down.
Yep.
That is what it is. And I think we hit on that last week as well. But it's important to know that because we need to give them a source of digestive enzymes. We need to give them a source of probiotics, even if it's the fermented goat milk, whatever it might be. They have to have those things that they're not actually getting. Just like hair, right? They're not getting hair typically unless they kill in the backyard when they're not supposed to. So what I was going to hit on, and I'm jumping around, I'm sorry, I can't help myself, but we're talking about cooking the fat changes it, but also cooking the protein. Cooking the protein also changes the structure of the protein, so it's less digestible. Minerals will always stay. Minerals are just there, even if they may transfer. So if you're boiling something, the minerals will go into the water. But vitamins are denatured, and you do not get good vitamins if you cook food. And this is for us as well. And I don't believe that we are completely raw food eaters. I think there are nutrients also that we need that come out in cooked food. So we need a good balance there, but it's an understanding, obviously we're humans and we're not dogs, that when we do things that aren't natural to them, they're going to react to it, whether it's in the short term or whether it's in the long term.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and you said it very aptly. Like, I mean, it's all those little steps, but you sort of point on humanizing our dog's diet is, you know, it's at some point I thought, wow, man, Leo's going to love green beans and carrots. And that was early on in my journey. And then as I studied it further, you realize, yeah, they lack the enzymes in their stomach to break down vegetable matter.
Yeah.
And so, and the reason why your dog goes in the backyard and eats grass is to add some digestive enzymes to their stomach. And also it gets them to throw up. And so it gets them to, you know, there's something that's not working right in their stomach. So by eating those grass items, that it really allows it to come out. And that's why I think we touched on this, is the whole idea with tripe. When you feed tripe, tripe is basically the insides of the cow. So it's the entrails of the cow. And that is the first thing that wolves go and eat when they eat any other part of the cow. So it's the intestines, then it's organs, then it's muscle meat, then it's bone and fur.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's all of those nutrients, and they know intuitively how to balance that out. I'm going to need to eat this in order to digest this, in order to do this.
It's so amazing. It's so amazing to me what they know and how they have the ability, still have the ability to be intuitive and to be aware. And the further we get, we just lose it and we lose it and we lose it. And that's something that I try to teach constantly, is we've lost the ability to listen to our bodies talking to us, because our bodies are constantly talking to us. When we have a pain, our body's trying to tell us something. If we have an ache, if we have a disease, if we have foggy brain, if we have an upset stomach, our body's talking to us constantly. And we're like, oh, I can't stand this, I'm going to go take a pill for it, instead of wondering, why is this happening? And we need to make a change. Dogs just do it innately. They know how to make the change. And when people tell me, or I'm like with friends or family or whatever, and their dog's eating the grass, and they're like, no, don't eat that grass, it's bad for you. I'm like, the dog knows why it's eating grass. We may not know. Let the dog eat grass. That's what we do. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. So when you have patients that realize that moment that we've stepped away from like how we want to eat and all that type of stuff, and the fact that we're inundated with marketing that our dogs don't get, that how do you get them to come to that realization and transition over into health?
It's a process, especially depending on how far along in the disease process that they are. First, I have to say that their clients are not patients, because I'm a nutritionist, not a doctor. So I have to legally make that clear. But
thank you for saying that.
No, it's fine. I have to say it for everybody else. but I think that's one of the reasons why I love labs so much, because the labs are numbers on a piece of paper that are telling us a story. And it's telling us a story that people don't know how to tell because they're not sure what it is.
Yeah.
And we can look at that. So it's obviously it's data. But and dogs too. Dogs can't speak at all. We don't know what they're feeling. We can see something's up or they're feeling bad or whatever. But doing labs helps us to put a story together and helps us understand how to help them or help my clients. And when my clients see their labs, they see their story on paper instead of me just saying, maybe you have a gluten sensitivity, let's give that a try. Maybe you don't like dairy, let's give that a try. Well, maybe you have IBS. Well, what does that mean? I don't know. Nothing. You have a stomach ache. I mean, IBS just makes me crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a diagnosis. It's not anything. It's not, I don't know what to tell you. And so you have a stomach ache, here's your IBS.
You got an upset stomach.
Yeah. And it happens all the time. And so here are your antacids or your Pepto or your prescription to help cover up and not fix your problem. Right. But it's seeing it on paper and then being able to tell them, this is what I see. This is what I think that we need to do. These are the changes we need to make, whether it's in your food, maybe it's meditation. There's that gut brain connection. I was talking to a client today and she had a massive flare, but she was overly stressed. She had some PTSD from this, situation years ago. And she had a really big flare in her belly and she's been doing really well. Now she does have some GI issues, but I think it was connected because we have the vagus nerve that connects our gut and our gut and our brain. I'm backwards, our brain and our gut.
Yeah.
And it's essentially the same tissue and they work together. If we have a gut feeling, there's truly something to that.
Yep.
And so we have to look at the entire picture. If you're having gut issues, we may even need to do vagal nerve stimulation, which is interesting and funny in and of itself, humming and gargling and all of these things to help strengthen the vagal nerve. But that can help with a lot of GI issues and also can help with mental and emotional issues because of the connection. It can help with strengthening the gut immune system. I mean, there's, I could go so many directions with this and, but all of this, you give people a story, you help them to see what their story is and how we go about addressing it. That in and of itself, especially people who have gone around and around and around, have gotten no help and can't figure it out.
Right.
That the motivation is there a lot of times when you can write the story for them, essentially.
Well, and I think you pointed to it is that they're treating the symptom. And I think we do this for our dogs as well. We take our dog to the vet, they treat the symptom. My dog's itching, let's give them Apoquel, instead of really trying to get down to that root cause of why are they itching?
Yeah.
You might find out that they're eating, like for case in point, I'll tell you a story of Leo. And I think I may have said it before, but I started feeding spinach to Leo. And that's the only thing I added to his diet. And it wasn't 6 hours later, he started itching around the collar of his neck, under his arm, which he had never done before. But me being the pet parent, I observed that something was off. And it dawned on me, I'm like, okay, it's the spinach. So what I did next morning, I just cut spinach out. And by 9 a.m. that next morning, the itching had stopped.
Yeah.
And so really, if I would have taken Leo to the vet and kept on the spinach regime, they probably would have given me a pharmaceutical for itching and not asked me what, they do. And all vets do a great job and they are awesome. And they do ask you what you're feeding your dog at some standpoint. And as they look at that, would they have gotten to that spinach piece of it? So I think as pet parents, and even as individuals as ourselves, we have to be aware of what we're eating, what we're changing, and be our own advocate for health, not only for our pets, but also for ourselves as well. And your vet in that space ends up being that individual that you can bounce ideas off of, that you can discuss different situations and really become your advocate, because they don't live with you every day. They don't get to wake up to how you feel. They don't get to wake up to upset stomach. They don't get to wake up And, they don't get to see your dog if they're, if you notice they're being listless, or if they're being tired and they're not as energetic as they are. Your vet doesn't see that all the time. I mean,
Right.
they would have one patient and they would go broke. So they have to see multitude
Yeah.
of patients
Yeah.
as a vet in order to get that. Or if you're a doctor, or if you have clients like Nikki does, she doesn't get to spend all day with them and see how their habits are forming a certain way. What treats did they get? Where's their environment like? What are they eating? And asking all those questions. And so I love what Nikki does, is she's going to dig deeper into all of those situations and understand your life a little bit more, and those habits and everything that you have that might be causing that. And
Yeah.
so really, and also from some standpoint, I've had the pleasure of meeting many pet practitioners that work on energy, work with dogs, and work on the feeling aspect of dogs. And it is truly amazing what they find. So for example, in one story that this woman had, was that her client was very upset because her father had passed away while she was visiting him, and it was just toward her heart. While at the same time, when she called home that night, her husband remarked, "There's something wrong with the dog."
Mm.
The dog was actually feeling, and this dog was her love, like everything. And the dog was feeling what she was feeling. And you could go wooey, you can go new age, you can take a look at it. But this husband's like, I can't explain it. As soon as she came back, the dog was fine.
Yeah.
So really, by getting our own health in line and us feeling better, our dogs are going to feel that. I know if I'm upset and I come home, Leo cuddles up next to me and doesn't act like he wants to play. He really is just on that side, is like consolence.
Yeah.
And it is amazing on some of those standpoints. So really, when we start feeding, and if feeding equals health, and if stress equals health, limiting, eating the right things and limiting our stress for ourselves is beneficial to our dogs as well. Because then
absolutely.
if we're amped up that they're not eating kibble and not transitioning and not going raw that you have to, and you're amped up and you're having anxiety because they are not eating the raw you're giving them, guess who else is going to have anxiety?
Yeah, they are. Mm-hmm.
Your puppy. And
Yeah,
so when you look at that, is what are you giving? We have a responsibility when we have dogs, is what are we giving them on that standpoint? Because they are 100% feel.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And I want to kind of take back to one of the things that you said a little while ago, or just a few minutes ago, was being aware of what we're putting into our bodies, being aware of what we're putting into their bodies, but also being aware of, when I was talking about our bodies are constantly talking to us, watching them, because their bodies, like you said, you seeing that he's itching more. That's pretty vague sign, right? For some who just aren't as aware, if he's itching more than usual, some people may not be as aware of that. And I think that awareness is really important, because we have so many other things going on that sometimes we have to work on awareness for ourselves, for our dogs, for our family, because it's just not always easy to see these little tiny things that might be going on, but can make a really big difference. And like you said, had you not noticed that and been aware of the food, then your dog would have been on, drugs, and, the itching would have been better, but could have gotten worse, and other things would have gotten worse. Right.
Yeah.
So it's just so much fun to know that we have the ability to keep them as healthy as possible and off the drugs and off deadly food. I mean, it's really simple, but
right. And it all comes down to these things.
Yeah.
I have opposable thumbs, so guess what? I get to open the can. I get to grab the bowl. I get to give it to him. I mean, he's not self-feeding himself.
Right.
I mean, as much as I would love it some days, just go down and make yourself breakfast. You're like, dude, you've got the keys. You are the key master. You can make this happen for me. Yes. And so on that premise is, this is our opportunity to really help the health of a pet. and
Yeah.
get them off of kibble. And if you don't believe the whole kibble scare and all this stuff, just look up and do the research, follow Rodney Habib, like really go take a look at the videos he's created. He tests dog food and
Amazing.
tells you exactly what's in the food and why, because of some issue that he had with his dog. And so what you find is the stats don't lie, is that,
Yeah.
50% of dogs over the age of 10 will die of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at like Dr. Judy Jasek, the cancer vet, and you follow that thread, she looks at you when you make that statement, she shakes her head and she goes, no, Matt, it's 2/3 of dogs
Yeah.
are dying of cancer. So I believe that dogs are the proverbial canary in the coal mine, teaching us, sadly, the wrong way that, yeah, what we eat affects our health. And
Yeah.
so we're seeing our dogs, that are fed kibble live to be 13, maybe 15 years of age, depending on the breed and size. But dogs should live to be 20 to 25 years of age.
Yeah.
I'm from the gentleman in Australia that has a 30-year-old working cattle dog. And I've
Yeah.
seen videos at 28 years old, this dog is still herding sheep.
Yeah.
So from all of those standpoints, yeah, this is such a part. And when they asked the farmer, he grew up on a dairy farm, they asked the farmer, hey, what did your dog eat? And he's like, I don't know, what was around?
Yeah.
And he was eating placenta, and he was eating like everything from a cow, and
Yeah.
eating just meat that the farmer had thrown out for him and stuff like that. And he was drinking raw milk. And so when they started to take a look at this, yeah, feeding a healthy diet the way your dog is supposed to, your dog should live a happy, healthy life to 20, 25 years of age. And same with us. If we eat well, we should live a happy, long life. And so we shouldn't be sick, and we shouldn't have these issues when we turn 70, 75 years of age. And so as we eat better, and we've met individuals in our lives that eat very healthy, and they live this strong, powerful life until the end.
Well, and that's the key right there. Is, the stats are we're living longer and all these, but we're not living healthier.
Right.
We have these nursing homes full of people who are not living healthy, and we're needing canes and walkers at 50 and 60 and 70 years old, and
Yeah.
we're hunched over, and because of drugs, okay, so we're living a little bit longer. But who wants to live longer in a state where you are not able to function well?
Right.
So yeah, it's the key. It's living well, as far as I'm concerned, is living as well as we can for as long as we can, because lots of things happen. But the same with our dogs. It makes me a little bit sad, a little bit crazy when somebody loses their dog at 15 and says, oh, well, he lived a long, healthy life. I'm like, it wasn't a long life. It was a short life.
Right.
They're supposed to be around longer, and I want them around longer.
Yeah. No, ditto. Like I don't want to, you've lost dogs. I've lost dogs. It tears at your heart. Recently, and I won't use her name, but recently I had some conversations with a woman that we know that recently lost her dog, and it just tears at your heart, and it just changes your life again.
It does.
Look at this, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Mm-mm.
You actually can have a healthy, long, productive life if fed right. And so this is why I think this raw movement is really going to take off, is individuals are going to realize, holy cow, my dog is healthier, not in the vet as much.
Mm-hmm.
It's, she is running around and doing everything that, and she's 15 years old and she's acting like she's 6 years old and stuff like that, because you're really giving your dog not only that sense of purpose in their life to give them that job that they need to do, whether you're a Chihuahua and you have to protect somebody, like my Chihuahua who protects my wife, we all or you would like a working cattle dog that is really on, okay, I got to get my jobs done today. So you have that purpose, and then feeding them right then just promotes that overall health. And so for example, if I have a purpose in my life of I'm on a mission to help and affect the life of dogs, and I do that through Parsley Pet, but if I ate McDonald's every day, it's only a matter of time before I get sick.
Right.
or the McDonald's catches up with me, or I can take care of myself under that and love myself to lean towards wanting to eat more fruits and vegetables, to, eating lean meats and really looking at my diet and stay away from processed foods. Well, we have that opportunity to do for our dogs as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm off my soapbox.
No, I love it. I get on the same soapbox. This is why we do what we do, right?
That's exactly why we do what we do. So is there anything else you want to cover? I mean, we've been about 35 minutes in and
I know. So yeah, there's lots of stuff, but I feel like maybe we save it for next time. And the many, many next times to come.
Many. Every Thursday, 4:00.
Yep.
Just put it in your calendar. Follow Nikki Burnett at Taste Life Nutrition. Follow her page. Follow us on Parsley Pet. Nikki, you have Instagram, right?
Yes.
Of course you do. Like, you have to have Instagram. Wait a second, you don't have TikTok yet, do you?
No, I've not heard of TikTok. Don't overwhelm me. Instagram overwhelms me.
No, I did. Ditto. That's why I had to hire a team to actually do that for me, because they're like, yeah, man, don't post anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I'm doing nice stuff. And they're like, yeah. But no, TikTok, don't do it. Don't follow that thread. And also, Nikki, you're not 14 years old. So I have a 14-year-old daughter and everything's TikTok.
That's
Oh my God.
It changes way too fast. I can't stand it.
Oh, same here. I'm still trying to get used to Facebook, and I'm lucky. I mean, like the tech issues I had with Facebook Live, I'm like, yeah, a 15-year-old been like, move.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
So
definitely follow us every Thursday, 4:00. We're going to be talking about human health, pet health, and other great things that we read and we come upon, and things that we know that has helped us and has helped our pets as well. So definitely, thank you guys so much for watching today. And so cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Nikki.
You too. Bye.
See you. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.